So the first 7 days are done, and so far so good, even though I have had a bit of an eye problem this week, but I've managed to muddle through. And day 1, we had the theme of dream, and quite often, especially in the winter, my cat will end up in like a little cocoon of a fluffy blanket on the sofa. And I know somewhere that I've got photos of him sleeping like this. But the only photo that I could actually find easily was one of him in this same position, but with his eyes wide open. So I did amend the reference photo to close his eyes, but I think I've actually drawn his eyes a little bit too high up. I think with them being closed, they should be a bit lower down than that. But I blame that on the fact that I couldn't find the correct photo. And the other thing which I've done here is I tried to do like a stippled effect to get the fluffiness of the blanket. Normally my go-to for any kind of shading is cross-hatching, but because there were so many just lines already for the fur, I thought I don't want to do the same kind of shading technique on the blanket, so I did stippling instead, which I'm not done very often, but I'm quite pleased how that turned out actually. And then for day 2 we had spider, and you might be thinking, where's the spider? Well, this little design here, where it's kind of got the oval in the middle and then the like spokes coming out, that part of a lace design is actually called a spider. And this one has actually got 8 legs, because there's like two sets of threads coming in from each side of that diamond shape. But you can also get them with more legs than that, but they are still called spiders. And I was really happy with how this one turned out in the end. But quite a long way through the process, I was thinking, oh my goodness, what have I done? This looks horrendous. And these kind of cross parts in particular, I was struggling to get the detail. And I do confess that in the end, I was just putting extra random lines in because it just looked like it needed to be fuller. So let me show you the actual lace that I copied. So we've got normal kind of full spiders down the middle, and then the ones at the side have sort of got their legs kind of a bit squashed on the edges, but that's correct. That's how the pattern was. And although it's only a bookmark, this is one of the most complicated pieces of lace that I've actually made, and it took me 3 attempts to do it. So I was particularly proud of this bookmark when I finished it. So it's quite nice as well to have it in my Inktober and using the white pen on the brown paper. And then I just used a fine liner just to add some fairly subtle shadows, I guess. I tried to just keep the lines sort of like on one side to give that shadow effect. And then here I've got this pair of bobbins with the twist on the bottom, and the beads which I made myself. So I don't know if you've seen any of my glass lampwork videos, but I did actually do a video where I made these beads. So I particularly like this page because it's my lace that I made with my bobbins that I made the beads for. So day 3 we had the theme of path, and this was copied from a photo that I took on holiday last year at Iford Manor. And just this path just disappearing around the corner, and there's sort of like stone edge into the path, and then just various plants and flowers and undergrowth lining the plants. This one I did very quickly, and if you look closely, it's little more than scribbles. But that's because I think I mentioned at the start that I had an eye problem this week, and my right eye was swollen this day, so I could only half see out of my right eye. So I kind of did this with 1.5 eyes basically. So that's why I kind of just tried to keep it just like quick and simple, a bit scribbly. so I didn't have to worry too much. So then the next day we had Dodge, and when I woke up this morning, my eye was even worse. Like, it was so swollen, I could barely open it. So I waited until later in the day, in the hope that the antibiotics would kick in. And later in the evening, like the swelling on my eye did go down a little bit, but I still didn't really have proper vision in both eyes. So I changed my plan on this day. Like, my original thought, as soon as I saw the word Dodge, I knew exactly what I wanted to draw. I've got a model car of a Dodge Challenger, and I wanted to draw that car at a sort of a 3/4 angle. Would have been quite, I mean, bearing in mind the car's called Challenger, it would have been quite a challenging drawing with the perspective on the car from that angle. And because my eyes weren't working very well, I decided that I would just do a straightforward rear view of a Dodge pickup. So because you've got Dodge in big letters on the back of the tailgate, you know, it's kind of obvious what it is, because otherwise, I mean, it could be any kind of, you know, old American pickup, couldn't it, really? Just put a different name on the back. But I was really happy with how it turned out in the end, considering it wasn't what I originally wanted to draw, and I couldn't properly see. I mean, obviously I could see, but with only having one eye working properly, I didn't want to tackle the perspective. So that was why I ended up changing my mind about that one. And then the next day we had the theme of map. Now this is a map of a real place. It's a village called Ardmore on the south coast of Ireland, and I've been there 5 times, I think. And here on the map I've marked Malarkey's Cabin, and that's the place where I stayed every time I went to this village. And there's this walk that goes around the cliff area, and then I also did sketches of some of the landmarks. I would have liked to have done more little sketches, but obviously, you know, this book is quite small. So here we've got the lookout tower, or the watchtower, which from memory I think was used up until 1820 or something like that. And then sort of nearer the cliff edge there was actually a World War II lookout post as well, but that not so interesting to draw. And then off the cliff here there's a wreck of a ship with a crane on top, so basically you just see the crane sticking out. But I decided not to do those two because they're, you know, more recent history. I tried to stick to like the older sort of more well-established landmarks in the area. And then here we've got St Declan's Church and St Declan's Well. There's a lot of stuff about St Declan in this place. And then there's St Declan's Stone, which is a big stone which is raised up off the ground. It's sort of resting on these 2 pinnacles. We've got the remains of an old cathedral and this really tall round tower, and Father O'Donnell's Well, which is a really, really weird structure, and it's kind of like whatever angle you draw it from, it looks weird. But yeah, so that's one of my favourite places that I've ever been, and therefore one of my favourite walks. You know, having stayed in the same village multiple times, you know, I don't even know how many times we did this walk. So you remember in my introduction video, I said I only had 26 pages left in this book in order to do 31 sketches. So I was going to have to condense and do, you know, two pictures on one page. So the fact here that I've done one across 2 pages feels very extravagant. because that then means that's an extra sketch that I have to combine somewhere else later in the month. But I really felt that this one deserved it because I've got so many amazing memories from this place where I went with my husband, and it was just our favourite place. And then the last 2 days I've made a start on combining 2 images on one page, but because I used 2 pages the day before, this basically just takes me back to where I would have been anyway if I'd just done one sketch per page. So for golden, I decided I'd do my wedding ring and engagement ring, because I was thinking, well, what can I draw in black and white that's going to be obvious it's gold? And I just thought, well, the most precious things I've got are my wedding ring and engagement ring. So that's why I drew those. And then today we've got drip. So I just kept it quite simple and very literal. So we've just got a tap with a big water droplet. And obviously I did the white highlights on the water. I did think about adding some white highlights to other sort of brighter areas as well, because obviously this tap is metal, and where it's used, you know, you do get kind of shiny parts of wear on it. But I decided that I would just keep the white for the water, just to make that real distinction. So there you go, that's my first 7 days of Inktober, and I'm still in the situation where I need to combine several sketches going forward so that I don't run out of pages. But I've got a few ideas of some of the prompt words that I'd like to combine later in the month, although I've not fully decided yet. I kind of play it by ear as I go and keep a check on how many pages I've got. But that's where I'm up to so far. So I hope you've enjoyed my sketches, and I'll see you after another 7 days.